The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of Green Acres and our guests. These general gardening tips and suggestions may work for you, as well as those from alternative sources. When using any garden products or tools, read and follow all label directions. And learn how to make your yard summer strong at bewatersmart.info.
The Green Acres Garden Podcast is the podcast dedicated to helping gardeners hone their growing skills while we celebrate our love of plants. So whether you're new to growing or a seasoned gardener, you're sure to learn something new. Join the fun as we have conversations with world-class growers, passionate green thumbs, and professional garden experts from Green Acres Nursery and Supply. Listen every week. We'll answer questions you didn't know you had. And away we grow. Welcome, everyone, to the show. We got a special one this week. This is the Green Acres Garden Podcast. I'm your happy host, Kevin Compost Jordan, back in studio for another great episode. We've actually got a special guest here with us, Austin. Yep. We have Greg, the original garden guy himself, Gayton. How's it going there, Greg? Greg is our producer on this show. What's up, Greg?
It's going really good. I'm nervous, but I'm happy to be here.
Okay, there we go.
Well, we're stoked to have you. We're in studio. This is going to be pretty cool. For those of you who don't know, actually, Greg, I'm curious. I want to maybe contextualize this episode and your being here. We've had you on in the past for several episodes on many different topics, ranging from bulbs and, veggies and whatnot, everything, right? But now we got our claws on you, and we're in studio, and we really get to kind of pick your brain a little bit and learn. But can you tell us a little bit, you're the producer on the show. I would say a little bit, Austin, maybe agree or disagree.
Yeah.
I would say the heart and soul of this show, maybe
Definitely.
Our listeners don't understand, but Greg is behind the scenes, making it happen and helping us out, and he's such a huge part. But from your point of view and your perspective, what does the podcast kind of mean to you, and what is the hope?
Well, I really believe that the podcast here is to inspire gardeners, whether you're growing houseplants or you don't like working in the yard, but you just decided, hey, I'm going to grow a tomato this year, or to anybody who just goes by a seed rack and goes, wow, all those pretty things, maybe I can grow those. That's what it is. It's to inspire people to talk about history, talk about the future. The gardening world is great. It's constantly changing. I'm humbled. I've been in the industry forever, and I've learned something new every day. And it's fun to pass on all this new knowledge on to the listeners, and getting feedback from them, and just having people come into the studio and just having a lot of fun.
I totally agree. But let's get to it, actually. So I'm hoping you guys could try something. I did a little harvest. I was out in the school garden today. With the kids, man, they were gobbling up the citrus. I brought them into class. I talked about, man, it's cold outside. You wouldn't think that there's tons of fruit out in our orchard. Let's go get it. And it was all the citrus. Now, I got a special one. It was the first time our school garden has produced this one. This is actually, it's bright yellow, like a bumblebee almost. But this is actually the bear slime, a.k.a. the Persian lime, a.k.a. the Tahitian lime. This is a lime, Austin, that in the tropics where it's warm, it stays green. But here where we got a little bit cooler temperatures, that little frost we've been getting, or those cold nights we've had, turn it kind of bright yellow.
I thought that was a lemon.
It's not a lemon. Actually, I should have brought a lemon in to show you. The lemons are quite a bit bigger, and the yellow they're more like canary yellow, the Meyer lemon, right? The improved Meyer. But try one of these out.
What's the flavor on that?
You tell me. You tell me. So these ones are cool because they have they're a little bit less acidic and a little bit sweeter than other lime varieties.
They're wonderful.
So they're tangy, I don't know.
And go back 20 years. This was the only lime we could really grow here because it was cold hardy compared to the Mexican lime and some other limes. So, that's wonderful.
Yeah, and it has actually done well. We planted it this time last year. And now I come in today, this morning, it's covered with just super ripe limes. And it's maybe a couple feet tall. So it put on a little growth. It's doing really well. So citrus in the garden
that one.
They're just going gangbusters right now. What are your thoughts on citrus, Greg?
Well, it's funny you say that because I was just thinking about that earlier today. Back when I started back in the 70s, we had 5 or 6 varieties of of citrus. You had your Washington Navel, you had a Meyer lemon, you had a couple other things. Now there's literally hundreds of varieties that are available. And it always amazes me, this Tahoe Gold is amazing, but believe it or not, I've never had a Bear's Lime. I think I'm going to have to plant one of these trees.
It's pretty good, right?
Yeah, you sold me.
And what's nice is they don't take nearly that much care compared to other things out in the garden.
They're one of the most drought-tolerant plants that you can plant in your yard.
That is, yeah, that's incredible to hear. I like hearing that because I've got a few in my yard, and I'm hoping they do pretty well. But I'm curious, actually, as to now, you're out in the nursery all the time. I know you're running around. You're kind of a man of many hats. From a gardener's perspective, what are people planting right now, if anything? Or are we in a stall mode? What kind of flowers can we plant right now, if any? Like, what does it actually look like in the nurseries?
Well, it's really surprising to see the nursery still so busy here in January. There's still a lot of color out there. There's the primrose, there's the cyclamen, there's pansies. So you can add a lot of color, and, the pollinators are year-round, so it's always good to add that. Camellias are just going crazy right now. But now is also the time to plant your Bareroot roses, your Bareroot fruit trees, get your garden ready for the springtime. Everything's working overtime underneath the soil. So, now's the time actually to get out in your yard and have fun.
I 1,000% agree. What do you think, Austin?
I just put out a Bareroot fruit tree video on YouTube, and Greg, you helped me out with it. Thank you so much for your help. And you really kind of explained the benefits of buying Bareroot. And we have a cool process at Matsuda's where we put them up in pulp pots. Greg, can you, in case anybody hasn't seen it, can you give us a quick breakdown of why Bareroot?
Well, Bareroot, this is the Bareroot season, obviously, but Bareroot is the time when you can find that deciduous fruit tree that you can't get in the nursery any other time of the year. So, for example, a new really popular plant is the jujube. And that's like a Chinese date. And those are going really crazy. They're available in like 3 different varieties. There's your multiple grafted deciduous trees, like your fruit cocktails. There's like 6 or 7 varieties of Asian pear. So, when you've gone through the year and you've gone to food store and you've found, wow, this Asian pear is called Shijoro. Oh, wow, it's awesome. You can find that tree this time of the year, So this is the time to find a deciduous fruit tree because the selection is out there.
Nice. You know what? Another thing that stood out to me was working with you, Greg. We go to the stores a lot to interview people for the podcast, or we're shooting segments for video, and everyone knows you. It's so cool to walk. It feels like walking around with a celebrity. We were shooting the other day, and you ran into a friend, and you just lit up, and they were happy to see you. What is that like? You've been building these relationships for so long. What is that like for you?
Well, it's funny, and I think all our listeners know that when you go into a nursery's a happy place. And you can have a bad day and you can walk around the nursery. People bring their dogs. People look at the flowers. And people are in a happy state of mind. And so I'm not shy. I like to go up and talk to people. I've met in the 46 years I've worked out at the nursery, being a plant person here in Northern California. You get to the point where people come in and they tell you their success stories. They bring in their dogs, they bring in their new kids. They introduce you to their grandparents, and it's that one key thing. Plants bring everybody together. And so, anybody out there who's going through some bad times, go to your local nursery and have fun and smile. It's going to completely change your mind.
I agree. And you know what? You brought it up like when the social thing and the community, Austin. You're out there with a ton of different garden groups. Can you talk a little bit about your work with that and all the talks you give, and how has that affected you?
Well, it's funny because today I just gave a talk to some really awesome ladies called Gypsy Traders. I go, what the heck am I going to have to talk about antiques with them? But all of a sudden we started talking about plants, and next thing you know, it's like we're run out of time. But it's, like I said, plants bring everybody together, going out and meeting different groups. I go to garden clubs in Placer, Sacramento, Yolo, all different counties. And it's great to the point where the people become your friends. And everybody has a question about plants, and they like to know what's new on the horizon. Every day I learn something new, and it's fun to share that information with the garden clubs. And I've learned a lot from people. I've got a degree in hort. I'm a certified California nursery professional, but I think a lot of my knowledge is just by talking to people and getting to know them. And, everybody brings their phones out and flicks their pictures through it. And I'm just amazed at the smiles people have on their faces just to show what they've done in their yard. And, like I said, it's to get people excited, to get people motivated, to get people healthier working out in the yard. And, hey, plants are the things that meld everybody together.
Yeah, the thread that connects us, the tapestry of life.
I've seen this. It's true. Everyone's happier when they, out of his talks. People are just so happy. Greg, you mentioned something about like how you're learning every day. I'm curious if there's been big shifts that you've seen over time. And what I really appreciate about you is that you are willing to change your mind about things. What are those big changes you've seen over time?
Well, it's really funny. Back in the 70s when I started out, when I was a young whippersnapper, I managed a nursery, Matsuda's Garden Center here in Sacramento, and everybody was all about chemicals. I would literally go into the store an hour early and open the doors, otherwise you'd pass out from the chemical smells. And I'm a, California certified pest applicator, and I thought the best way, people would come into the nursery during the 70s and 80s, they would buy their vegetables, and then they would stop and pick up a bottle of malathion or diazinon and say, we got to keep the bugs out. Then fast forward to the 80s and the 90s, and everybody's starting to get more into organic gardening. Fast forward to now where, we're working with the University of California, working with Texas A&M AgriLife, and we're finding out that 90 or 95% of the insects that come into your yard are actually beneficial. So things have changed. Working with the environment as opposed to against the environment. Where back in the 70s, you could drive 50 miles and your windshield would be totally bugged up. And now, I hope that's all right to use.
Yeah,
but then you could drive from Sacramento to LA and hardly have any insects. Our goal is to get people to be more river friendly, more conscious of the environment. We need these pollinators. We need to get everybody back to, wow, we've got a messy windshield. That's a good sign.
I like that.
There we go. Yeah, we need more bugs out there.
We do.
It's a good barometer, the bug meter.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
We need to have a lot of frogs in our yard. We need to have a lot of lizards. We need to bring back what we have. They're all together, and that's something that we've had some really amazing guests on here, like Joe Lample.
Oh yeah,
who talked about ecological gardening. We've had Carrie Reed, who talks about drought tolerant plants. We had 10 years of drought. We could go, oh, woe is me, but we learned a lot. We learned about planting California natives and climate adaptable shrubs. We've learned a lot. And so gardening is exciting now. Back in the 70s, if I worked in a nursery for a couple of years and went into a coma and just woke up, I'd go, what the heck has happened? But in a good way, because we have all these great farmers out in the Capay Valley, young farmers. We've got people into organic gardening. We've got kids at school who are learning to grow gardens and be healthier. Look at your school garden.
Oh, yeah.
Your school garden. I wish all the listeners could visit Kevin's garden
That'd be
because
sweet.
it's so amazing. It's right in the middle of an area where soil is horrible. And after all these years of adding organic compost and his own compost that he's built, he can just put his hand in the ground and go all the way up to his elbow.
You spoil me.
Yeah, no, but that's what we're learning now. We're learning that we can live with clay soil, but we're learning about composting. Kevin Marini on here. I mean, this guy is the king of composting and vermiculture, earthworm castings. Who would have thought that worm poop would have been such a crucial part of gardening? So, yeah, things are changing, but things are changing for the better.
That is cool. I love it. In your time since you've been there, like I know you're always giving people recommendations on plants probably night and day. We've had arborists on here, and I'm always trying to pin them down to be like, give me like a recommendation or two of like just a tree that you really just love or something that just is just always a great pick. So I'm going to give you a scenario if you don't mind. Can I quiz you a little bit?
Sure.
I'm going to give you just like a light scenario, and you maybe give me an option or two, whatever you feel is necessary. Okay, let's say I've got just an empty front yard, nothing in it, but I just want to put one tree, full sun, plenty of space, and I want it to create some shade. What is a good large full sun shade tree with? Let's say there's no power lines, there's plenty of space in all directions.
And you want fast growing.
Of course.
Okay, Zelkova Serrata is a nice one. Full. Turns bright red in the fall before the leaves drop. The leaves do.
Are those the ones with the little rough edge leaves?
Yeah.
Is that why it says Serrata?
Yeah.
Because it's serrated.
There you go.
I don't know what the
He's
common name
learning.
is. It's Zelkova, I guess.
There you go. Those are pretty.
I like Tilia cordata. The linden tree is great with the yellow flower. That's a great tree. Your maples, October Glory.
Beautiful fall color.
It's lit up the Sacramento fall skyline. You can't, Chinese pistache is a great tree. It's not the fastest grower, but it's great. You can have a lawn underneath it.
Those get a great color as well.
I love oaks. I am a tree hugger, and I confess, I will literally go up to a tree and hug it. When I go out on vacation, like if I go to another state or whatever, when I've been to Paris or I've been to Massachusetts, I always grab a leaf and put it in my book just because,
that's cool.
love that.
What is the history, but what have these trees seen? If trees could tell a story, that would be cool. But it's always cool to find new trees, like going to Texas and, seeing, all the pecan trees and
Leaves of your travels. I like it. That's a pretty cool thing to do.
Yeah, I'm a
I want to
planner.
see it. I want to see your leaf book.
Well, those are some great options. I love it.
He gave you more than one.
Can I twist it? I know. Can I twist it a little
Sure.
bit and we'll see
Go
where you
for
go?
it.
I need a same thing, full sun, but I need the tree to be smaller and it can have color.
Okay.
So maybe like 15 to 25 feet tall, somewhere in that range.
Sure.
Above a patio tree, but not quite.
Well, there is the Oklahoma redbud, which is great.
Beautiful.
Magenta flowers before the leaves come out.
Have you eaten those?
No.
Yeah, they're in the same family. They're a legume, the Legumaceae, right? So they have little pea. Their flowers look like little pea flowers, pea blossoms, and they're kind of cool. They taste okay, as far as flowers go.
It's a really hardy tree. It's a lot different than the western redbud, and I love the western redbud too. It's a great shrub, California native tree. But the Oklahoma redbuds are lining the path to our Elk Grove store.
Is that Cirsus canadensis? Which one's that? Or is that the eastern? What's that?
It is like an eastern, but I believe it's just Cirsus X Oklahoma.
Okay, sorry.
I could be wrong, but I know when they come out in the late winter, early spring at our Elk Grove store, you see everybody bring their phones out and taking selfie pictures with it because the flowers are magnificent, 15, 20 feet tall.
And there's usually no leaves. It just blooms out, just bare branches full of these curly little little creations of nature, Austin. It's pretty cool.
It's a smile creator, that's for sure.
A smile creator.
I love trees. I love redbuds. Redbuds are my favorite, and that's one of them. I like the California native western redbud, but the Oklahoma redbud is nice and very, very drought tolerant as well.
I think we grow both at the school for that very reason. We first started off, I was like, I'm going to go native in the one area, and then I'm going to go pretty in the other spot where they're just, but they both kind of dance back and forth.
Greg, I don't think I've ever asked you what kind of trees you have at home. Do you have any cool trees that you care for at your house?
Yeah, I have. Well, I'm allergic to sycamores, and I have 2 large sycamores out there. So I think I have stock in Clarendon. But in my backyard, I've got...
He's a glutton for punishment.
I've got Japanese maples. And
there we go.
Yeah, I get some afternoon shade. I call them my girls. I've got a number of them that I've carried. I've got a sangukaku. I've got
coral
a
bark.
Trumpenberg.
So pretty.
Oh, yeah. I've got Japanese maples. They're some of my favorite. Just the integral pattern of the leaf. They're just striking, and they're in the right place. They get morning sun till about 3 o'clock and then afternoon shade, so they look beautiful even during the hottest part of the summer.
Good to,
Cool.
That's great.
Now, I know this about you too. You've been kind of sharing me a little bit that you've been back in the community garden.
There's a lot of, that's, if you live in an apartment or a townhouse, or even if you have a backyard with a swimming pool and you think you can't garden, consider going to a community garden. And I used to belong to the community garden that you are part of, Austin. Yeah. And that's great. It was just sort of far to go for me.
Okay.
But
that's fair.
But the community gardens are great because you get a sense of community. You get to see what people are planning. You have a lot of fun. I actually get to visit a number of community gardens just for work. There's
for your talks.
Yeah, there's one that really I would love to get them on here. It's a senior garden up in Auburn, the Auburn Golden Gardeners. And they have a community chat every Friday, and they just talk with people. But it is great. These wonderful people have started working with the Placer County Office of Education, and they've actually brought in foster kids to help work with the garden. So the seniors in the garden are working with the foster kids, and this is the first time a lot of those kids have actually had a chance to work in a garden, work with people, and everybody's becoming a mentor. That's one community garden. Another one is like the one you belong to, Austin, where you just go and you meet people. You get to see, wow, I planted those bachelor buttons this year. And then your next door community plot person will say, wow, I'm going to have plant bachelor buttons, or you share, I've got extra peas left, or I've got this. And, people get to
sharing.
They're sharing stuff.
They share inspiration. They share tools. They share their harvest. Yeah, I've experienced that, in the little bit of time I've been there, I've already experienced that. It's really cool.
So I have another question for you, and it's not a gotcha, but I'm curious because you've given out, like I said, you probably had people come in with this problem so many times, but I'm curious, after all those years, what your recommendations have whittled down to now with what you know. Full sun, blasting heat. I need it to be hardy and survive. I just need a shrub, just a good old-fashioned shrub. What are you going with?
Oh, boy, there's a lot there. Pineapple guava. Feijoa is drought tolerant. That I've actually seen them against a western wall on the west side of a house. I wouldn't recommend that for anything, poor plant, but it was thriving. Very drought tolerant. I like the foliage is like light green on the top and silver on the bottom, so it looks dramatic with night lighting. I think pineapple guava is my favorite.
Edible flowers, you can't beat it. Pineapple guava, there we go. I'm curious, we're in a future episode, just because it's so timely. Right now, we're getting fired up. I know I'm doing this personally, and actually at my own home garden. I did it with my son a little bit, and now I'm going to be doing it with the students. Hopefully, you and me, Austin, or you and I, we can do some plant seed starting. Greg, what are your thoughts on growing from seed? What are the benefits? What has been your history with it?
Well, I'm always in front of the seed. The seed racks I'm dazzled by. We've carried botanical interest for eons. I used to talk to Curtis Jones, who
It was your
the
friend
owner.
who created it. Yeah.
You can get so many things that you can't get in the nursery. Black scabiosa. You can get different colors of sweet peas, like I planted a bunch last month because they're going to be coming up. You're not just limited to what you can find out that's in plants. There's like a white marigold that has a head as big as a zinnia. That's only available in seed. You can get edamame seed. You can get so many different types of Asian type of food seeds. It's something. Oh, I'm definitely an advocate of seeds.
For sure. Well, people may not know, but Greg gets to kind of ride along with us, or us ride along with him on all these adventures that we go on. Sometimes we'll film videos for the YouTube channel that are correlated with the podcast, and he's right there with us.
I rely heavily on Greg. I'm always checking everything that happens. Greg, is this good? Is this bad? And
For sure.
He knows. He's knows
like
it all.
Director, producer extraordinaire.
Yeah.
For sure. Consultant. But what's really cool, remember going out to the farm, and now they have seeds, and it's all natives. Can you talk a little bit about that experience and what your thoughts are because that's probably not normal that you guys have an area where it's like, I don't remember being able to just go out and get native plant seeds and then bring them home so easily. Maybe a few, poppy and whatnot.
Well, that was really interesting, and we made a very good friend, Julia Michaels, with Hedgerow Seeds. Dr. Julia Michaels, yes. And she had reached out to us because she wanted to be part of the podcast. And I was just fascinated by that. We eventually got together. But before then, we had talked to Andy, who is our head buyer, and he was thinking, wow, this would be a good opportunity to start selling California native wildflower seeds that are grown locally. And so, we did the podcast, which was a lot of fun. And I know you guys will agree, Dr. Julie has become a good friend of ours to the nursery.
Definitely need to get her back on.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be great. Because
Yes.
it's been a little while now. And when we first met her, the seeds weren't available in stores yet. Then we did a video with her when they were available. Now I'd love to get a check-in on see how the operation's going and everything.
And just learn from the pro. How and when do we plant them? What are her favorites? Best practices for care? All of it. There's so much
hanging
more.
out there at Hedgerow is a dream. Like that.
I didn't even want to tell my wife how I was like, it's like I had to go to work, but it was like, and it was pristine, beautiful,
It was heavenly.
acre after acre of just gorgeous rows of purple and gold and yellow and all these. And it's like, these are all natives and they're all just getting cultivated for seed. We got to see behind the scenes. I digress.
Yeah.
It was, dude, it's so cool.
Well, you guys are throwing me all these kudos about being in the industry and knowledge and that, but I have to tell you, I'm blown away by Dr. Julia Michaels. I'm blown away by you, Kevin.
Well, don't even go there. But
No. And Austin, look at how you've learned.
Right, can you think of a time that's happened, maybe like at one of your talks where something you were talking about and it clicked with somebody, or they were inspired to do something different? Have you seen that happen?
I've seen that happen a lot. I've seen people be inspired, especially when they don't know about using organic fertilizers. And it makes sense when you tell them that the soil is the most important living product in your garden and that treating the soil correctly is going to make their plants thrive and survive hot summers and drought situations. That's when I see people click and they get excited about that. Adding compost to their ground twice a year. People go, wow, that all makes sense. And it's a logical science. Gardening is fun. And when it becomes a chore, you're doing it wrong. You got to stand back and start over, because that's the fun part about gardening. And I enjoy doing what I'm doing immensely.
I feel like you're
There we
leaving, a legacy. Improving the future of gardening because you're spreading the good word about the best practices, and in the future, hopefully, everyone is doing these right things. And can you imagine what's going to happen?
Well, the biggest word I think gardeners should think about is being humbled, because I've been humbled. I used to think that better gardening meant applying pesticides and synthetic fertilizers. Boy, was I wrong. I'm really looking forward to 5 years down the road. There's all these new methods, all these people who are coming up who are, bringing out new things, growing new plants, making it more fun. I mean, every time I go over to your garden, Kevin, it's like going to Disneyland.
There we go.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is.
Gardens should be fun, and it's and you were talking about these legacy and whatnot. I think one of the things is that you really enlighten folks when you go to these talks and help them out and maybe get them inspired, hopefully. And a lot of it is the revelation that it doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be a struggle. There is a methodology to success. It's not like one of those things where like, I'm just not good at it. No, everybody is great at gardening. Whether or not they know it yet, that's between them and their garden. And so that's how I feel. And I always get fired up around you about plants because just the passion, and it's the same thing that you've kind of led me to other people. I've got to meet so many, Tom Caruth, come on, and a bunch of these, the Rose Queens out in Roseville and beyond, Dawn Gardens and so forth. This is like we're like recalling all these incredible people. Yeah. There are a tremendous amount of beautiful, smart, wonderful people who love plants, and it's just fun to connect with them. And I really appreciate that you've kind of been like a magnet for these people, Greg. And it must be something. I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it. And we need more of it.
Yeah. So with that in mind, Greg, I'm wondering if you can help spread the word about, where people can find you. I know you do so many talks with so many clubs, but if they wanted to have you at their club, can they request that? And, how can people get in contact with you?
Well, I answer a email from our website called Gardensolutions. Gardensolutions@idiggreenacres.com. And, you can put in a request. I'm happy to talk. You can tell I'm not shy. I love talking to people. I usually get a raspy voice like I have now because I gave a talk this morning.
Yeah.
We really... That's the part I love about my job. The owners said, we need to get out into the community. We need to earn our customers. We're a part of the community. We live here as well. So we have to be part of and be out there. It's a lot of fun. Kevin and I have worked a long time. We worked at the Cap Public Radio Garden.
That was cool.
That was a lot of fun. Just getting out there in the community, meeting people, you realize that gardeners are the best. And
do we need more? Does the world need more gardeners?
Definitely. And there are no people, there people come up to me, I can't garden. I always go, and this is what clicks. I go, you haven't met the right plant yet.
They just need the right type of plant.
Yeah, you have success. Take a pothos piece and put it in water, a leaf, and, see the leaves come, the roots come out and plant that up. That gets people encouraged to grow out there. Nobody was born with the knowledge of gardening. They weren't, all of a sudden,
They're not squirrels.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
They definitely know what's up.
And as you well know, gardening is trial and error. And once you get success, but that's what's great is the community is people talk to each other and tell them their strengths and their weaknesses. And it just grows and grows and grows. And there's a lot of love in the community. And that's what gardening's all about.
All right. Well, Greg, thank you so much for coming into the studio with us and seeing this. You've never seen it in here. You've only seen it through a camera.
Yeah, through Zoom.
Yeah.
So I'm like, whoa.
It felt small to you at first, right?
Yeah, but this is a lot of fun.
Yeah,
like
I like
said,
that.
my knees are still shaking. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, you did amazing. Thanks for joining us in here and coming out from behind the scenes. You're such an integral part to this show, and it's so great to have you on and hear your thoughts. And I've just loved working with you all this time, so thank you so much. Kevin, that's all for this week. Why don't you take us out?
Well, that was pretty cool. You know, they have sayings. There's plant daddies and plant mamas. I think Greg's a plant uncle.
There we
so
go.
we got Uncle, the plant Uncle Greg, the original garden guy on. Greg, thank you so much. And thanks to our listeners for being here. Honestly, this is a blast. It's a dream to even come in here and talk plants and get to hang with guys like you and to go meet all these wonderful people that you line us up with. So cool. What a treat. Until next week, garden friends, get out in that garden, get some dirt under your nails, have some fun. Happy gardening to you all. And please,
Never stop growing.
Yes.
There we go.